What's up, guys? Today the designer notes were just dropped for Operation Deadly Omen, and we're going to go through some of the changes, including the massive impact change with impact grenades and the azami changes. Let's get to it. All right, so here's a win delta versus presence. So basically, I'm going to explain this. Higher up is how often they win over 50%, and underneath is how often they lose under 50%. So you can see operators like Sens are barely, and when it goes to the right, it's operators that are picked more often. So Ash has like a 60-something% pick rate in an average ranked round in Emerald and above. Sens is barely played and has a very low win rate. And you can go through and you can kind of see a general line of where operators are at, like how often they're picked. Like Finka's has the highest win delta and isn't picked very often, aka why kind of main Finka. But yeah, so you can go through this, and like if you're looking for any operators that you might want to play, take a glance at this list if you're PC or if you're console for the other list, and you can go through and like pick the ops you want. So one thing to note is you don't see that many operators that are like super far down on the attacking line other than Sens. Sens clearly needed a change, and we were going to talk about a Sens change later on. All right, win delta for defenders. Oh my god, Clash is so far down. Console, a little bit better win rate, but still very low. Obviously is weak. I know it's super annoying to have to deal with the Clash, but that win delta is insane. It's not even on the list. They had to tell you how far down it was because it's not even on scale of how bad it is. Wish you could pause this. So here, kind of exactly what you expect. Azami's under 50%, which is weird, but kind of what you expect. Operators that pick the most. PC bans, nothing crazy. Doke, Jackal. Console bans, throw a Thatcher in there too. Console bans, yeah, I'm not surprised to see Captain that high. Fenrir. Curious about the PC bans here, though. Fenrir, yeah. Mira. Yeah, Captain's still up there, but not nearly as high. No ban being 13%. That means anything under 13% is, whatever. Okay. Now let's get to some of the operator changes. So, Kiba barriers have been slightly tweaked again. So, you deal more damage to them with higher caliber handguns. A little bit more damage with basically every gun. Basically, they take a little bit less shots to destroy. Because right now, it was like, I have to shoot it, like as an attacker, shoot it 2 times with an entire mag, reload, and I'm destroying on the 3rd mag. It shouldn't take more than 2 mags. I don't have that much ammo that can destroy, let's say, 2 barriers. So, yeah, Azamis are still pretty strong. I mean, yes, it does kind of nerf the Azami barriers, but not in a conceivable degree that's really going to change the way that she's played in any real capacity. So, Azami, still a powerhouse. Ayana. So they're giving her EMP impacts. They removed her stun grenades. So, to me, that makes Ayana even less of an entry operator. Now she's more of a support operator. Which kind of makes sense when you really think about what her ability even does. It's a Gemini replicator. She basically has infinite drone and infinite intel gathering. Like, yeah, it gets shot, takes a while to come back, but you do get another one. And you can use them throughout the round. So you could potentially use your replicator like 2 to 3 times in a round. So her being a supportive operator does kind of make sense when you really think about it. So EMP impact, so why those are good. Open up walls basically function as like a little mini pseudo Thatcher. But you still play as the ARX Ayana with clones. So still can be kind of good. If there's a wall I want opened and someone's already picking hard breach and Thatcher's not really a choice, EMP impacts are going to be more than fine. I might play Ayana. Lesion. This is one that kind of hurts my soul, but I do understand it. Later in the round, I do find myself kind of just throwing Lesion Mines willy-nilly because I have so many. So, guys, refill time increases 25 seconds from 20. So basically, you're not going to get them as fast. Okay, Fair enough. You get 1 billion anyways. I don't really care about that. Initial damage reduced to 3 from 5. Okay, I mean, the tick still does, like, quite a bit of damage, so it's not really about the initial, it's more about the tick damage anyways. And honestly, goo mines have never really been about how much damage they do. They just can do damage, so you can't ignore them. I personally don't really care how much damage the goo mines really do. It's more about the map awareness, map control that you can gather as Legion. And that's kind of what they say here is goo mines are used for like map control very quickly and block attackers access to the building very early in the round. And I agree with that. So, you know, I do main Legion quite a bit, so I do understand that thought process through this. I don't really think this affects Legion too much, but we are going to get something later on that is going to affect Legion quite considerably. Knock. Increased duration to 30 seconds from 20. The recent changes to frag grenades along had negative impacts on Nock's presence. Well, this isn't going to change that. I mean, this doesn't mask your audio still. I don't really think Nock's crouch walk ability, you know, should be loud as a 2 armor. Like, I think that she should be sneaky. Like, that's the entire point. Yeah, you can't be seen by camera, so you might be able to make like a play, like let's say walking up lobby staircase on bank when nobody's really paying attention to you. You might be able to do something, but this is not going to raise Nock's pick rate any considerable amount. This is not enough. You need to mask Nock's audio if you really want to have like a sneaky specialist. Oryx, the Ramadash. Will destroy deployable and talent shields, dash not interrupted. So you basically go right through deployable shields. Is this going to get Oryx picked more? Because I don't really feel like you should be dashing through shields anyways, because there's people with guns on the other side of them normally. I don't know how I feel about that change. That feels like a more casual change to me. It has nothing to do with like a higher elo player change. That's a little weird. That's a little weird. But okay. Okay. Sense change, getting 4 projectors instead of 3. Basically, I mean, more chaos. Could make sense slightly better. You have 3 of them and you have grenades, so you technically have 6 throwables now. Doesn't really change the issues with Sense completely. I don't think that you should be able to impact or nitro the smokes lines at all, because, you know, it's kind of useless. Like if they're throwing a couple senses in and you just impact where they're going to come in from, you can just see right through everything and it's null and void. Yeah, you get more to do that now. So it's not a bad, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but I don't think that's quite enough. So the biggest change that I've wanted to talk about so far, the impact grenade change. This has massive implications on the way that Siege is played. So let's talk about the radius first, because this is the one that I have less of a deal with. 2 meters from 3 meters. I don't have a big issue with that because impact tricking has been kind of a meta thing in the competitive community. This makes it a little bit harder to impact trick. You can still do it. It's just a little bit harder. You have to really know what you're doing, or you just, you know, it's going to fall wayside. You know, that's all I have to really say about that. It might make it harder for rotates and stuff, but with the projectile lines, with throwables, that's hardly an issue personally. The damage reduced to 40 HP from 60. I have a massive issue with that because welcome to the shield meta, boys and girls. Because how do you fight shields without impacts now? They don't do nearly enough damage. I'll just tank that. Like, let's say you're Montaigne. You just tank that to the face. You'll survive. Especially if you have a Fink on your team. Impacts used to be kind of annoying. Like, when I'm a Montaigne player, I'm dealing with someone with impacts. Someone nails me. I get taken down like 60, 50 health. And then another person comes with impacts. I'm like, oh. Now, I'm barely even going to flinch. So, shields, massive buff on this. Shields are already strong. But there is a shield change down below that is going to kind of make shields a little bit worse anyways. I don't think that impact grenades should really be a weapon. I just like that they are a weapon against shields for a lot of different operators that won't have access to nitros. Nitros are unaffected. So So reduction in explosion radius will yield 2 key effects. Impact tricking, like we talked about, throwing impacts over a wall or on a hatch, it makes it a little bit harder. And precision requirement for utility clearance. So yeah, if like there's an OSA, you have to really make sure you slam it into it. So ballistic shield, guard break. I mean, kind of a shield change, but this is just following the impacts. So impacts are going to hit shields the same way. They're just not going to do as much damage. So basically, if you get hit with an explosive that does 30 damage now, what's going to happen is it's going to knock your shield away for a second and it's going to come back, which barely affects you. If you know what you're doing to your shield, if it knocks your shield away, you just turn to your right and then your shield's on the side anyways. So you can just tank explosives head on. Not much of an issue is going to happen. Overall, the changes, I see this as more defense nerfs than anything, which isn't bad because it is defender side of meta to all hell right now. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that defenders are getting nerfed. That's not my issue. My issue is that impacts to shields, I feel like there's some disconnect with players and Ubisoft somewhat, because I feel like there needs to be more counters to shields. Shields are very strong for taking map control early. Hell, even if you don't really get a kill with a shield, I can like take so much map control with a shield, push everybody out, and we have the map control super goddamn fast. Impacts, I don't really care if the damage is nerfed, but I do want to see more shield changes. So let's get to a big question for me specifically. Do I plan on playing Lesion after these changes? So Lesion also, I believe he lost his impacts. Yeah, he lost his impacts, but he gets an observation blocker. So now as Lesion, I have observation blockers and a bulletproof cam. Kind of mid-util. I mean, I can use a bulletproof cam for some things. Observation blocker is kind of like, I don't really know what I'm going to do with that. But still have the T5, really good gun. You have the goo mines for the map control. Still, I mean, yeah, they don't do as much damage. You don't get them as fast, but you still have them, and you have plenty. So T5, goo mines for map control, and you still have the shotgun for side setup. Does Lesion really need impacts? Not really. Legion's been a very strong operator in the game for a long, long time. Doesn't really need impacts per se. There are some rounds that are going to be super nice with impacts when you're Lesion, but you don't need impacts every round. And I don't think this is going to change how Lesion functions overall. Lesion already has a really good ability, and there's operators like, let's say, like, you know, operators that don't really bring much to the table, like let's say the Vigil, the Alibi, etc. They don't have that much going on in terms of their ability per se. It's more about like their speed and running around. Them having impacts to make more aggressive plays still makes sense. So those are my thoughts on the changes. What do you guys think? How do you guys feel about these changes? Let me know down below, and make sure to subscribe and leave a like for more. Peace out. Until next time.